Before we start this video, I would just like to say that this has been by far the most frustrating DCS video that I have ever had to make. And it's not because of Pimax or anything, because their product works great. It's more so that DCS and VR are one heck of an experience to get right. And if you're seeking the best graphics to performance you can get ready to experience some of the pain that I went through, because at some points, I was starting to lose my sanity. Okay, what the fuck? So I hope that you enjoyed the video, as this project took many days of frustration. And I would like to thank both Tuvas, who has initially helped me get going with VR and DCS, as well as Sleazy, who later saved me from dumping my PC into the bin after so much went horribly wrong. Lastly, I would like to thank Thrustmaster for being this channel sponsor, so if you're in the market for some great gear, then check out the affiliated links in the description, where you can see all of the cool gear that I have from Thrustmaster, including their new AVA mechanical base. This here is my trusted Track AR5. I've been using this pretty much since the beginning of my aviation journey, and as time moved on and technology flourished, we started to see VR jump leaps and bounds. However, for those who know me will know that I never really jumped on that VR bandwagon, and the reason for this is mainly that I'm a content creator that doesn't want the terrible resolution and the head jitteriness that comes with VR. It just doesn't look great, and it makes for terrible videos. But regardless, I was still curious. Is VR really as immersive as people say? Will it really change my mind to the point where I drop my Track AR once and for all if I just give it a chance? Well,
there's only one way to find out.
So, a few years ago, I searched far and wide for the cheapest VR headset that didn't require lighthouses, which would allow me to experience VR for the first time in DCS, and let me dip my toes into this new virtual reality everybody seemed to be raving about. So I settled on the Rift S, which at the time was reasonably priced for the performance and seemed like a decent fit for me. It was kind of meh. Sure, it was definitely a bit more immersive and the experience was decent enough, but it just wasn't for me. The resolution was pretty bad, and I knew that going into it, so it made the flying portion just kind of a pain in the butt when trying to read any labels in the cockpit, all the while making me sick to my stomach since I do experience motion sickness. And try as I might, I just never got those VR legs to get rid of that issue. So while I would use this here and there for some other games, there it laid in the closet, mostly just gathering dust. Fast forward to today, and I get a message from Pimax asking if I'd like one of their new Pimax Crystal Lights.
Challenge accepted.
Well, here it is. Now, I'm not going to bother you with the full unboxing video, but to summarize, here is the Crystal Light, here are some adapters for the wall, a cute little keychain resembling the Pimax, and here are the two controllers. These are very similar to the experience that I had with the Rift S, so felt right at home with these. Now, the Crystal Light is leaps and bounds superior to the Rift S in pretty much every way, so I knew this experience was going to be a different one than my first VR journey. I just didn't know exactly how big that difference was actually going to be. So before this Crystal Light got to my doorstep, I started to learn more about this particular headset and its specs, which led me to the conclusion that this was probably going to be a good time.
God damn.
For the most part, as you can see here, you get the same great goodies on the Light that you do on the normal Pimax Crystal. But where they did change a few things in order to make it cheaper for the customer is on the foveated rendering and eye tracking, of which the Crystal Light has none. Now, I didn't know what this was, so I looked into it and found out that it tracks your eyes and it makes it so that anything in the center of your vision is fully rendered, meanwhile everything on your peripheral is downscaled. This saves on performance and is generally considered a pretty good thing. But even though the Crystal Light doesn't have this, using an external program, we can force a fixed version of this that does a pretty similar thing, minus the eye tracking. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I do have one small problem. This here is my PC. I like it because I built it, and it certainly wasn't cheap. It has a gigabyte motherboard that I don't particularly like. It has 64 gigabytes of G-Skill memory, although it's GDR4 because of the time that I built it, paired with a 12900KF, and it's cooled with an Arctic cooler. Now, you may notice that you don't immediately see the GPU, and that would be because it's right over here, mounted upright. Now, this gives an overall clean look to the PC, and my thought at the time building this in this manner was one of cooling. I basically did not want the heat from the GPU, by the way, this is a Gigabyte 3080 Ti, to affect the temperature of the really hot 12900, and I didn't want the reverse to happen either. So when I saw that Lian Li made a nice dynamic PC case that allowed you to mount your card in an upright position, I jumped right on that. What this means for my build is that now I have 3 fan intakes in the front, 3 fan intakes from the bottom, then 3 fan exhausts out the top, and 3 fan exhausts out the side that drag the hot air of the GPU out this way. Effectively, I have only cool ambient air temperature going directly into the case, and neither the GPU nor the CPU heat each other up inside the case. Personally, this has worked, and made me very happy in my pants. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this isn't to show off, especially now that this isn't exactly the top of the line stuff anymore or anything, but because of the unique GPU mounting, I do have an additional problem. You see, normally you have the GPU positioned in such a way that you can access the ports in the back of the PC, but in this case, pun intended, with the GPU mounted up, you have a very difficult time to access the ports because they are, well, up here. Now, I already had to buy 2 extra long cables to run to my 2 monitors and route them through this very tight spot because Lee & Lee didn't exactly build this in such a way that made it easy to cable manage with the GPU mounted this way, and you kind of had to squish the cables to get, anything in there. Now, this wouldn't be such a big problem if all I needed was 1 cable to connect to the GPU and be done with it, but since most VR headsets have 2, it's a little bit of a problem, and the Pimax Crystal has 3? That's confusing. Well, as you can see, the cable length between the cable that plugs to the GPU and the other cable that is supposed to plug into the USB port is just simply not long enough for my unique case. So what I had to do was buy one of these extensions and run it out the back of the case, out this little port over here. We're not going to talk about the cable management out the back of the case because I frankly don't care. But anywho, this now allows me to plug it to the GPU and the USB without a bunch of issue. Now, just so we're all clear on this has nothing to do with Pimax. This is more of a unique situation because of my case and GPU placement. I blame Lee & Lee. Now, I was a little bit confused as to this 3rd cable that I was talking about earlier, because I've never seen anything like this before, but it turns out that this goes to a power outlet. So that's new for me, With everything hooked up and ready to go, it was finally time to start this up and get crack-a-lackin'. However, being a guy with almost no VR experience, I was gonna have to set this all up in DCS, and I don't really know what I'm doing. And while there are some videos out there to help you out with your setup, it seems like a waste of time when you have a 2 of us that can help you out.
So what's up?
Well, I don't know how to set any of this up. It's like I need help. I'm assuming that there's 2 things I need to do. First is the program, there's Pimax Play, and then there's the actual settings for DCS. Here is Pimax Play, but I'm assuming device settings. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we got some stuff. I'm just going to leave that alone. Refresh rate, I'm not sure if I should even touch it.
90 is a solid number.
I tried messing around with what my eye situation would be because there's a little adjustment for the eye thing. I just can't tell if it's better or worse.
Generally speaking, if you feel like you get a headache after being in VR for a long time, then chances are it's probably your IPD and you'll have to adjust it.
Oh, okay, so they actually have a setting for DCS. Interesting. Well, that's if the game is launched from my game. So I would have to go in here and launch it from this, which is kind of...
Yeah. Can you check that checkbox, see if that comes up with anything? Oh, it does. Okay. I would say forget about that, and we will just use whatever DCS uses. I'm going to walk you through the general principles behind fine-tuning graphical settings for your system, especially when you're dealing with VR. First off, we are going to take every single thing, except for resolution, all the way down to either the lowest setting or the off setting, whichever's lower. Don't worry, this is just the starting point. This is so we can get a baseline of what your performance is like at the crappiest settings, and then we can figure out what we value the most and up those first. These are the VR options. What I would recommend first is turn off use hand controllers. So enable HMD mask. It depends on how you want to present, because I know you do recordings for DCS. So if you're planning on recording DCS, I personally would recommend to turn off the HMD mask, but that does save some performance if you leave that on.
Let's leave it on for now.
Okay. Next up, use DCS system resolution. Turn that on. Next, mirror eye source. Change that to right eye. Next up, crop source to rectangle. That's going to make it presentable. Okay, cool. And let's go ahead and hit apply on the bottom right. And now, see, right next to Launch DCS, there you go. Choose the VR version, and then just hit Launch DCS.
Here we go.
Okay, so first things first, let's get you to recenter your VR headset, which, if I remember right, is the number 5 on your numpad by default. Hey, there we go. Now you're no longer having to, look straight down.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Take it all in, but and let's see what you got.
Oh, I don't even have my controller plugged in, so I have mouse and keyboard right now.
That's fine.
Oh my god, everything looks so bad in this setting. But yeah. This looks awesome. I can read every single freaking gauge, unlike Gambler, who has to go like, because you can't make anything out.
All right, what FPS are you getting?
60.
Oh, so that isn't a lot. Okay, so the goal here is to figure out what we can increase without affecting that performance much. But first off, can you just hit escape and go to options? And I just want to make sure you're not just like capping your FPS. Oh no, you're at 180 FPS. Okay, so you're not like limiting it down to 60. That's literally all the FPS you can get right now.
Okay, so just FYI, the reason the FPS is so bad right now is related to a little bug/feature that shows up anytime I look to the upper left corner to check the FPS. This will be a lot more evident as the video goes on, but we do figure out the cause and fix later, so you'll see.
I guess first things first, what do you want to be better right away?
Well, the terrain kind of looks whack.
Let's first focus on textures. Let's increase those textures to medium, terrain textures to high, and then something that kind of goes along with it, anisotropic filtering, which is on the right-hand side. It's the first drop-down. Change that to, let's go ×8 for now. You could probably go ×16 because it doesn't really affect performance that badly, but yeah. So what would you say is probably the next biggest thing that you want back?
Alright, well, I mean, the most important is right in here, so as long as I can see all of this, I am mostly happy. Just kind of depends. I guess we can turn up the grass a little bit. See if that does anything. A little bit.
That is a pretty big performance hit, especially on your CPU. Now, you are getting how many frames per second right now while it's running?
50-ish.
And how does it feel to you, like, just experiencing it? Does it feel like it's a stuttery mess? Does it feel acceptably smooth?
As far as I can tell, it's acceptable.
And it sounded like you were pretty happy with the resolution.
Yeah, in cockpit, I can read everything. This is, like, nice.
Damn. Okay. Would you be willing to sacrifice some of that?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Excuse me?
No,
What did you just say?
I'm just saying, if we get you into a situation where you need more FPS, that'll be like one of the ways we can do it. There is a pixel density slider, which is currently at 1.0. We can dial that back until you are no longer happy with the setting.
What should we do? 0.8?
Yeah, 0.8 for now, and see if you're okay with that. But before you hit OK, let's go to System. So resolution for cockpit displays, try 512 and see if that's better for you. Another thing I would recommend checking out, because you'll probably realize just how nice it was to have, which was shadows. I would say set that to low, and then on the right-hand side, terrain object shadows, set that to flat, at the very least. Let's see how that goes. So it's already looking better.
As well as if you practice
frame rate got better?
counter along the way.
Yeah, because we decreased pixel density.
Yeah, okay.
But if you're okay, like if you didn't even notice that the pixel density was lowered, that's a good sign.
Yeah. I can almost not even tell.
Okay, fantastic. Now we could dial it back even more, but that'll be for future
Chill.
ralfidude.
Calm down. All right. These sacrifices need to stop.
You know how much I sacrificed?
We should try out you plugging in all your devices and just taking off in the Apache and just fly around this airfield.
All right. Frame rate has dropped down to about 40. I'm gonna need to build up my VR legs. I feel so weird right now. Every move I make, it's like, I'm gonna need my vomit bucket.
Oh no.
So right now I've not really noticed anything terrible.
Okay, that's a good sign. Now you should be getting a lot of FPS back because you're flying away from all those assets. Oh, not a lot back, surprisingly.
Yeah, it's whenever I look up, if I look forward, everything's 70. Why is it so
that is so weird.
Yeah, facing forward, I'm getting like 70, 80 frames, and as soon as I look up, I get dropped down.
That is very weird. I don't know. Can you turn your nose in that general direction? So, like, look up and to the left and see what part of the sky that is, and see if that replicates just by... What? That is so weird.
So anytime I'm off center, you can see the frames drop.
That is so... I don't even know why. Does it happen to the right? Well, I mean, you can't tell because the thing isn't there, but can you use your mouse to click and drag that menu so you have it on the right side? That is so strange.
Not as much of a drop when I look to the right.
Yeah, if any drop at all.
And then forward, yeah, it's remaining constant. And now let me switch it back to the left.
That is so weird. Why?
Let's try a different airframe, maybe. I'm starting to sweat a little. Oh, God.
Now, I need to ask, how does it feel so far hopping into these aircraft in VR?
I mean, it's interesting. It's not the first time I've ever experienced DCS in VR, but before I used it with the Rift S, and let's just say the resolution was like half of what I'm looking at now. Like, I could barely make out anything. Right, so before when I hyped in, like, I could barely make out anything, but with this headset, you know, clearly everything is just popping. Oh my God, this is such a beautiful aircraft. Oh my God. Anyway, it's doing the same thing. I look to the left and it's down to 45. I look forward and it's 90 degree. Let's look to the right. Nothing to the right.
That is so weird. Why?
I look down. Nothing. 90. I look up. Nothing. 90. Left. 45.
Instant 45. Wow. I don't even... That doesn't make sense.
¿Qué pasó? Can I go further? Okay, out here it's fine.
It's like literally that.
It's just this corner. This corner kills my FPS.
Oh my God. It's that 3080 Ti.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare bash this beautiful card.
We've just explored the area. There are no threats.
Thank you, Daddy Waggy. All right, so forward, yeah, no, I mean, everything's great. Wow, the heads-up display, though, I need to, like, refocus my eyes. The depth perception is different. And my God, the UFC is so tiny! Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
God, the A10 nerd. Just take it all in. Oh my God, not that way. Oh
no. Okay. Oh, look at this thing. Yeah, no.
So what I recommend is if you can and get a chance to play around with things like the TGP so you get a video feed going and see if you enjoy that.
That's actually pretty usable.
Okay, good. So it sounds like 512 is a pretty good setting.
This I'm hitting like the frame limits, except right here.
God, I still can't get over what.
And
I need to look that up.
That's weird. It's like somewhere around here. I wonder, does it did I just see it happen here too?
Well, yeah. It's totally happening in the main menu. That is so strange.
And just to confirm, does not happen here, does not happen down here, doesn't happen down here.
Oh.
It does happen down left. Something in this sector. Oh, wait. Could it? I don't know if, can you see my boundary lines?
I cannot.
Okay, my boundary line starts right here.
Oh.
Do you think it might have something to do with the boundary? Okay, I'm gonna move. Oh. Yeah, so when I'm close to the boundary, yeah, there's the boundary line, and now it drops down to 43.
Wow, that is so
okay,
weird.
So the boundary... okay. Well, at least we figured it out. So I'm going to need to take a look at disabling the chaperone. So when I go out here, it does go directly into pass-through right now. So I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, I'm in pass-through. So I think I just need to take a look at disabling that. Okay, well, hey, at least we figured that out because that was freaking weird. All right.
Now, in order to actually turn all this off, you should go into the device settings on your Pimax app, then go into the advanced section. And here you can see both the pass-through and active chaperone. I would just disable both of these.
DLSS.
Yep, DLSS, and I mean, just stick with the default settings for now and just see if you like it.
I can only take a few more of this before I have to quit. I'm already starting to sweat so much. My body is rejecting VR.
I wonder, do you think any of like how you're feeling right now has to do with the fact that you know what it's like to fly a plane, like really, and feeling that third dimensional experience without the physical like pushing you around with the G-forces is what's really affecting you?
Honestly, I have motion sickness. So, no, I just have motion sickness. which makes it really, really weird that I tried to fly for real in real life. But I only threw up once in training, and another time only in Air Combat USA, but that was because I was pulling freaking 6Gs doing loops.
Air Combat U, is that the one where they put you in prop lanes and do like the fictitious dogfights?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
If you don't know what Air Combat USA is, check out this clip that I have in my channel of me participating in it a few years back.
You see him over there, about to be inside? We'll make these sort of tight. We're ready left.
Ready, right.
Okay, duck in and down. Duck in and down. There you go. Start a smooth pull. Sights on. Keep your eyes on him. Keep your eyes on him. There you go. Keep this pull coming. Good job. Okay. Give me a little bit of tank and slide down on the inside. Start squeezing. All right, that was a good background for smoke and looks good. We're off left. Okay. Good job.
All right, let's get back to testing DLSS with VR.
The artifacting would be like the ghosting, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be the most visible.
Oh, you know, a little bit the gauges took a hit.
Yeah, it'll be the most noticeable are going to be on fast-moving gauges as well as small, fast-moving aircraft that are zipping around you.
I'm actually seeing a hit in the clarity of the labels.
Yep.
TGP, come on, baby. All right, let me lean back. Okay. Yeah, I mean we're 90 FPS. I mean, since I was flying, I was actually at 90 FPS-ish before, so I don't think I need DLSS. But this is single player, so multiplayer will be different. Yeah, I can definitely see that DLSS.
Pretty smeary.
Yeah. I mean, I can handle it, VR and all, but I'm gonna see if I can go without that.
Yeah.
And turn that off. Okay. Well, since I have a little bit more performance to play around with now, let's see if there's anything else I can increase.
Another one you may want to consider is visibility, because right now it's on low for you, visibility range. I tend to only use medium myself.
Clouds? Hold on, where's the clouds?
Damn. I was...
Because I saw the clouds flying, I was like, let's go standard, and let's see what happens there.
Aircraft handling.
Above 80.
We've just explored the area. There are no threats.
That's what DLSS turned off, so I think that's pretty nice.
And how do the clouds look?
Oh my god. We're good. Kind of still crappy.
Yeah, it's mainly in that like horizon zone, right? Do you think the setting would change that, or would it just always not look great?
Well, let's change the setting and see. High or ultra?
Let's go max, ultra.
We've just explored the area. There are no threats.
They look the same. How's my performance? Oh yeah, that took a massive hit, down to 65. All right, so I'm bringing those back down to standard. But oh god. Okay. No, I need a break. I can't do it. I feel sick. I think that's it for today.
All right.
Well, at this point, I've got my baseline. I got it working to a point that I like, and the performance is good, and the graphics are great. For the common user, this can be the point at which you stop and just enjoy VR in DCS. But I decided to take it a step further because I believed that I can squeeze out a bit more performance out of this headset. And this was a mistake. The amount of hoops that I was about to go through and the absolute rabbit hole of downloads and re-downloads was gonna test both my patience and sanity. Again, this is not Pimax's fault, as you can see I clearly got it to work just fine and it looks more than acceptable. So the following series of misfortunes I was about to undertake is completely on me. So one of the first things that I did was try to play around with a couple of more options within the Pimax software, like the fixed foveated rendering, and set it to balanced. I think this actually did give me a few extra frames. It does seem to be hovering just smidge higher than before, but I couldn't really see any impact visually, so I'd say that was a pretty good thing. Alright, so what about setting it to performance instead? Visually speaking, there's no difference, but at the same time, there's no real difference in the FPS either, so Well, since I do have some frames to spare, and I did have my pixel density set to like 0.7 or 0.75, I bumped it up to 0.8 to see how that would handle it. Visually speaking, everything looks great, and now FPS-wise, everything's pretty darn decent too, so that's pretty good. But within the Pimax software, I did have the render quality set to medium, so I decided to bump it up to high and check that out. Somehow, and I'm not really sure how, I actually gained some FPS doing this. I have no idea. Unless I moved some of the load from the CPU over the GPU, but I don't know. Alright, well, what about smart smoothing? I don't even know what this is. Well, not only did my FPS drop, but I also noticed some stuttering, so
Yeah, not this. No. No.
Well, up to this point, I have only touched upon single player, so I decided to check things out in multiplayer, because as you know, the multiplayer is a lot more intense and your FPS tends to drop quite a bit. And here I found that I could go somewhere between 60 and 70 frames. To me, especially when you have the headset on, this is perfectly acceptable. I mean, I really had no complaints. There was no stuttering, there was no jitteriness, everything just felt good. But good is not great, you know? So maybe, just maybe, we could possibly do something a little bit more. And this mindset was the beginning of my descent into madness. Now, as I mentioned before, the Crystal Light does not have eye tracking, but we can do a fixed version of this using this tool, the Pimax XR Runtime. This will let us check this little box here that says Enable Quad Views Rendering. And then we actually need to download the Quad Views companion, which allows us to change some of the settings for the actual quad views. Excellent. But we're not done because we still need to download OpenXR Toolkit. No idea what this is or what it does, but that's what everybody else said that you gotta download, so there we are. Alright, so with everything downloaded, let's see how DCS looks and feels.
What? What the fuck?
Okay, so the good news is I'm hitting 90 plus FPS. The bad news is this. So even though through my headset everything's actually looking pretty nice, everything in the center is nicely rendered and everything on the outside is, you know, what you see out here, hence saving performance, hence the better FPS, right? From my perspective, everything looks wonderful, but from a recording perspective, it's a mess. Of course, I didn't know this at the time because I was just enjoying everything through the headset, so I only found this out afterwards while I was reviewing the footage.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Very much annoyed, I just shut everything down and I left this for another day. Alright, so I started looking into this, and after many pages of forums and asking on Discord and TubeUs for help, turns out that yeah, no, this is just what happens with quad views, and the only way to fix this is with OBS, because I have been recording with my GeForce Experience, and that's not gonna work, so I need to download a special plugin for OBS. Awesome, more downloads! So I installed this OBS plugin, and then I went to go launch VR, and this is all I could see out of my Pimax.
Okay, what the fuck? Jesus Christ.
And no matter what I did, I could not launch DCS from Pimax anymore.
Well, we're fucked.
So after another day or two of searching online, somebody says, hey, you should try open composite mode, and maybe that might fix the whole starting in a different mode of the, I don't even know. I don't know. I just downloaded it. I'm gonna try anything at this point. So I go to launch VR and
I am dead inside.
yeah, so back to the Discord, and I got Sleazy to help me out, and he's the real OG here. He kind of lets me know that the companion app doesn't really work very well here, and I should probably start getting rid of some of that other stuff that I downloaded and just basically start from scratch. This thankfully worked, and my Pimax started launching DCS again. Alright, we've made some progress. Kind of. With the help of Sleazy, I now managed to get quad views to work, and we wanted to test out whether this is going to work with OBS and the new plugin, so... And well, no. So I had to go back to the Discord channel and seek out more help from Sleazy. And it turns out that what I downloaded was actually a plugin for OpenVR and not OpenXR, which is what I'm actually after.
Right, yeah, of course.
And off I went to go download the correct version of this OBS plugin this time. And the installation of this plugin totally didn't feel like I was just installing a virus on my computer or anything, seeing as this required that I run it through a PowerShell and all. However, I was in too deep to stop at this point.
Is it easy? No. Do I like it? No, I don't. But do I do it? Yeah, I do, because I gave myself an ultimatum.
All that was left to do was just to set up the scenes here in OBS with this new plugin and test this out with the Rift S. Yeah, I didn't actually think it was going to work, but at the upside, OBS is recording now. Just gotta figure out what the hell is going on with these quad views. So Sleazy has me download this API layers tool that lets me turn things on and off for VR that I've installed in hopes that we can find what's causing the issue. And long story short, lo and behold, here it is. The Rift S is recording through OBS with quad views. You can see in the center everything is rendered perfectly and everything on the outside is rendered much less, and it's working. And I can show you guys this. Was it worth it? I don't know, but at this point, I was just ecstatic that we got something working.
A great success!
So with these Rift S comparison shots out of the way, it was time to now switch back to the Pimax and get this project finished. Except, I was back to this problem. So, back to Sleazy, who has me download yet another tool in order for me to pick which VR headset I would like to start every single time. Jesus Christ. But the Pimax is now back to working great. So, it's around this point where I decide that
it's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay? No more!
Well, now I've got my VR set up to the point that I'm actually happy with it, and if I were to try to continue any further, I'm pretty damn sure I'm gonna start to hate this whole experience. And I really don't want that to happen, especially because this Pimax Crystal Light was actually good. Like, really good. And I got what I paid for with my Rift S, and it wasn't the kind of experience that made me want to swap over to VR for my Track AR, but this Pimax? Well, let's just say that after getting it right and just enjoying DCS with VR at this level, it kind of made me get it.
Oh my god. I get it.
While I'm not going to be 100% sold on this VR idea because I still like my head tracking solution, especially just for my recordings, I really do get it now. It's a lot more immersive and enjoyable when you actually have a tool that can push out this kind of clarity and performance. So I'm definitely going to be enjoying DCS with VR a lot more frequently now thanks to this Pimax, which is not something that I was even remotely considering with the Rift S. Now that said, let me wrap this video up since it's already way too long with a few negatives on this particular Pimax because, well, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. First, while the price is definitely cheaper and more affordable than their top-of-the-line version, this price is unfortunately still out of reach for a lot of users. But if you want that resolution and capability, then I kinda guess you have to pay up for it. While not much, in the link in the description below you will find an affiliated link for the Pimax Crystal Light where you can enjoy a tiny discount if you do choose to purchase one for yourself. Second, the weight of the Crystal Light has also been reduced from their other headset, but it still ain't light. This was made very evident to me when I was putting on my old Rift S, and the weight comparison between the two was, well, it was rather significant. Obviously, the Rift S doesn't have as much going on under the hood, so it's understandable, but it is worth mentioning, especially for those who really play long sessions. Though if you strap this thing to your head and adjust it correctly, you do kind of get used to it. Third would be the pass-through mode. I was trying to compare the pass-through mode for the Rift S here to the Pimax one, and I really cannot tell which is better or worse. It almost feels like the Rift S is actually a bit more clear, which kind of surprised me. I would have figured that the Pimax would have the much better set of cameras. Well, this is not a huge deal since the pass-through isn't exactly something most people even care about. It did tie in to my last complaint about the tracking of the Pimax. I have noticed several times where the tracking actually drifted a bit. This isn't exactly something I can show you in the recordings, but when setting up the safety lines, for instance, I did notice that after a while they kind of shifted. My Rift S doesn't have this kind of problem at all and stays solid. And remember, it doesn't have lighthouses either. You can buy a lighthouse for the Pimax and you'd have to buy a faceplate so that the lighthouse can track that easier. But to be honest, during DCS gameplay, I didn't find that the tracking of the head shifted much, if at all. The only times I noticed the tracking shifting is with the safety lines in my room, and that had to be either reset or redone every once in a while till I just turned it off because of that weird bug that was cutting my FPS in half whenever I looked up to the upper left corner. So potentially, this may be an issue if you play any games that require you to stand up and move your body. So be aware that you might want to consider lighthouses for that purpose. But if you're just sitting in your chair for something like, I don't know, DCS, I don't think I would bother, as I didn't seem to notice any real drift with the tracking in-game. And even if there was, just bind a button to reset your head in-game. It's not a real huge deal. Oh, and I should probably mention that the microphone and the headphones, well, they're not great at all. And I opted to just use my Sennheisers over the top of the VR headset with the microphone down, and it just worked great that way. But you do have the option of upgrading these speakers if you want. Alright, well, that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that you enjoyed watching me lose my mind as I dove deeper and deeper into this world of VR fine-tuning. I'm gonna go fix myself a drink, because after this video, I need it.
2 shots of vodka.
Thanks again for Pimax for sending this awesome headset my way, and also to Thrustmaster for being this channel sponsor. I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers. Well, I'm glad that's over. Oh hey, a new DCS update. What's this? Wait, added quad views to VR settings within DCS? Then why the hell did I just go through all this pain?